Welcome everybody back to the Friar Talk YouTube channel and podcast. So today we're gonna be doing a little live stream. Started a little late, sorry about that. Had to go get some morning coffee. But got a fun week for football. And then also baseball's kind of in a weird spot. I don't know. There's not a ton going on. There really isn't, just with the lockout. But bunch of rumors right before it kind of ended. Nick Martinez expected to be signed. Castellanos rumors, those were interesting. We posted our video. A lot of you guys kind of felt the same way, that you'd rather see the Padres go after Chris Bryant than Nick Castellanos, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's not a ton on the baseball front, but what are you guys thinking NFL wise? And then any questions you guys have, feel free to hop in and we'll discuss whatever you guys want to. But what do you guys feeling NFL wise today that you're excited for?
Well, my Chargers are playing the Bengals, so I don't think it gets any more exciting than that, I guess. You got Joe Burrow going against Justin Herbert, both in the same draft class. Joe Burrow being like what everyone was kind of touting as like the next kind of, I guess, superstar, next phenom quarterback, just because of what he did at LSU. It was fantastic. He was amazing there, and he's definitely living up to it. His Bengals are one of the best teams in football right now. Joe Burrow's not throwing the ball as often as I thought he would, just because Joe Mixon is probably a top 5 running back in the league right now, which he wasn't, the past couple of years. He had always had the talent, but now he's got a good quarterback. He's got a better offensive line. He's got massive, huge weapons around him right now that's helping open up those holes. So Jamar Chase is one of the best run blocking wide receivers I've seen. So, that's helping him a lot. On the Chargers front, though, it's all going to depend on how Justin Herbert plays today. I think last week he looked pretty bad. One of those interceptions wasn't his fault. It was on Eckler, but I don't think he looked very good last week. That's kind of been the problem with Justin Herbert, is that he'll either go out there and be a superstar or he'll, kind of fold a little bit. And I think his consistency needs to pick up. The deep ball's kind of gone away. So we'll see how it goes today. I think, I think they should be able to win. The problem is they're in Cincinnati in a 10 o'clock game. So I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll see how it goes.
Also, Burrow threw for like 400 last time against the Chargers, didn't he? Yeah,
It was like 179 with like a rushing touchdown.
Wait, no. Then it was last year. Last year you went fucking off last year, didn't you?
He had a good game against the Chargers, but it wasn't crazy.
Burrow did?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in his first game, I thought him versus Herbert, they beat you guys in overtime, and Burrow threw for like 400 yards.
Oh no, it wasn't Herbert. It was Tyrod.
Oh, Tyrod.
I'll tell you guys this. And I picked the Chargers to lose last week. I think I told you that, Isaac. The Broncos are going to handle them. I think the last 2 weeks I picked the Chargers to lose. I think the Chargers will win today. You guys know the injuries for the Bengals? They're super significant. Their center's out, and Riley Reef, who's one of their best tackles, is out. He's a right tackle. But
when that, Stafford isn't.
Stafford is what?
And just like that.
Oh, you're saying
just like that. Joe Burrow is no longer starting in fantasy football.
No, that's the thing. Like, he's gonna have no time. Like, this is gonna be a Joey Bosa. He's gonna eat on him today. I'm excited for that game. I think that's the only good. It's the morning game, right?
It's 10 o'clock.
Okay, it's the only good morning game, if I'm right. Like, it's the only one. And then in the afternoon, like, the only game I'll watch is the Niners game. But I like that those are the two games. Also, it's super fun that it's Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert, because like that's been such a fun discussion to have, where you can say like, hey, I like Joe Burrow more than Justin Herbert, or I like Justin Herbert more than Joe Burrow, and you can easily make an argument for both sides, which is pretty cool, because like you're not making that with Tua. Like, you're not doing that anymore. Like, that's just not the case. Like, he's falling out of that. But it's a fun conversation to have, because like they're very different players. Isaac, you talked about how sometimes Herbert goes out there and absolutely just demolishes the other team. And the other times he comes out and he's a little bit slow. If he can get that consistency, which has always been a big question with him, he will be like a top 3 quarterback in the league. He's that talented. But that's just the big question, is like, can he get that? I think that, is it is it Joe Lombardi, right? I know it's Lombardi. Is it
I
Joe
hate
for
him.
him?
Yep.
Long time. He's been Drew Brees' OC for like however many years. It's just let's not push the ball downfield. And with their team, like you gotta do that. You got Mike Williams and like Keenan Allen's great underneath, but you got Guyton, you got Palmer. Like you got a lot of guys that can really push the ball where you can push the ball downfield. So I want to see them do that a lot more. And really like because of how their offense is built, you can try to push the ball downfield, and then if there's nothing there, then you take what you get, and you have Keenan Allen underneath, and you have Austin Eckler underneath. Look to push the ball downfield first. With Drew Brees last year, yeah, you were checking the ball. You were checking the ball down to like anything under 10 yards every single time. But this is a completely different offense, so I do think that would help them a lot more. I will also say the Bengals have been really solid this year. I still think they're a little bit overrated just in terms of their defense and stuff, and I think that we're going to see them regress a little bit. Not that any Bengals fans shouldn't be absolutely ecstatic about their future. Like it is super exciting for Bengals fans because they have two guys that like they're building around. It's awesome, but I don't know if this is like the year where they're really going to make a run. So I don't know. I think the Chargers have a pretty solid chance.
Right.
What else we got? We got Michael says if we beat Seattle, we take out Seattle and force them to rebuild. Yeah, that would. I'm very excited for that. I hope it happens. No Debo, no Fred really hurts, but you got Aziz. Oh, and no Dre Greenlaw. The Niners are like super thin at linebacker. But the Seahawks are rocking with AP probably today as their starting back. So that is also a big one. I think there's like 3 running backs questionable for the Seahawks. So we'll see what happens there. The Niners should absolutely still take care of business. I think that we're going to see a big George Kittle day, which every Niner fan loves to see that. But we also got a couple baseball questions here. When will the lockout end? Are we keeping Alfaro for the season? We might end up trading 2 catchers to 2 different teams. That's what Caesar says. What do you guys think about the lockout and then Alfaro?
I have no clue when the lockouts end.
Yeah, there's no sign.
We saw it last year. Those two suck at coming to agreements. They're probably like the worst 2 out of like every professional organization for sports. The MLB and Players Association absolutely suck at coming to a compromise with each other.
Yeah, there's no sign of it ending. I mean, there's no negotiations. They had a 7-minute meeting before they officially started the lockout. That tells you that they're really not even that close. 7 minutes is like, that's nothing. What are they going to do in 7 minutes? And then you see, Rob Manfred is blaming the players, and the players have the right to blame Manfred because Manfred has been heavily criticized. I mean, I know whose side I'm taking on this just because Manfred doesn't really have a good track record. So, I mean, obviously you're going to be on the player side because after all, they are the ones who play. They are the ones who make your product popular. Like, I mean, it should mostly go the players' way. That's just my opinion on it. But I don't know when it's going to end. As far as Alfaro goes, though, I know Ryan said that we might end up trading 2 catchers. Obviously one of them will probably be Campusano. If not Campusano, it'll be Nola. I think we can fully expect Alfaro to be on the roster probably.
Yeah, I think Alfaro is kind of locked in as a backup catcher. And I feel like you're right. Like it's probably one of those 2 and then Caratini, I would guess. But they could also hold 3 catchers. They're not holding 4. That's 100% sure. Like there's no way they do that. I don't want them to move on from Nola, and I don't want them to move on from Campusano either. Nope. So maybe if they traded Caratini and then they kept those 3, you could see something like that happening. Especially considering when you look at it, like they could do that, and then they could also have Nola DH a lot. That's what someone was talking about, that maybe Nola is a first baseman and a DH from now on. And to me, like, I don't really want to see that because, like, people have brought up the injury history. We've talked about it, though. It's not like you can use the term, like, oh, he's injury prone, but he's had, like, super, super strange injuries where it's not like, oh, his knee is consistently messed up and he keeps having the same issue. Like, we see that in like football with a lot of guys' knees, like the Todd Gurley knee. It's not like there's stuff like that, or like, oh, he's had this shoulder injury since he's been in high school and it keeps coming back and hurting him. No, it's like, oh, he broke his finger. Oh, he sprained his knee. Oh, he broke his like foot, or I forgot what it was last year. But like, it's always this strange stuff that doesn't seem like it's like maybe it is wear and tear, but it's almost like random stuff happening. And he's so good behind the plate. He is by far the best person that you can have behind the plate for the Padres. Like Caratini's great at handling the pitches for like Darvish and stuff, but he does not call the game that Austin Nola calls. So I would like to see Austin Nola still a catcher. If they move him to first base or they move him to DH, I think he is a great hitter, but I think it really diminishes him as a player, because if he's clicking as a hitter and he's your catcher and he's calling games like he has in the past, you have like probably a top 10 catcher because of that value he brings. He might not, I mean, we've talked about it, like he might not be the power bat, but you can get power from different areas. It's just like, I don't know. I think you would lose a lot if you move him to DH or to first. That's just my thought, though. I don't know. What do you guys feel about that?
We also really haven't seen a fully healthy Nola like try to hit for power. Last year at the end of the season, he had the sprained knee. At the beginning of the season, he was coming back from his broken finger. You know, and even when he got back, got hit in the same hand that he broke his finger. It's just like little things that added up that he was never really fully healthy to be able to hit for power fully. You know, I've never seen it. The only interesting thing there is I don't know how we get rid of Caratini and keep Darvish, because Caratini is his personal catcher, and you know, Darvish seems pretty stuck on that. I don't know how Darvish would react to that. I don't know if he would be requested to trade to the team that goes with them. I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah, very true. I like Austin Nola. I think he's a fantastic catcher. You know, behind the plate, there's a lot of guys on this team that really enjoy him behind the plate. You see Joe Musgrove had a fantastic game with him behind the plate. It was a 9-inning shutout through a complete game. Blake Snell threw 15, 16 immaculate innings with him behind the plate, and he looked fantastic with him in the second half. So there's a couple guys that really enjoy Austin Nola behind the plate, and I think that's big for the pitchers. That's kind of the main reason I don't want him going anywhere, because they already have a really good chemistry with him. As far as him at the plate, he doesn't really hit for much power, but I think Matt said it. If we're able to get power from different spots in the lineup, then then it makes up for it. As long as he's able to hit consistently with runners in scoring position and bring runners in, then I won't mind him not hitting, 15 plus home runs, which I think he could do. I think he could hit 15. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Austin Nola. I fully expect him to be on the roster. If I think anyone's getting traded, unfortunately, I think it's going to be Campusano.
I think you're probably right there. I do want to bring a couple things up that I just saw. If you guys are interested in college football, the college football playoff just got set. Bama 1, Michigan 2, Georgia 3, Cincinnati 4. Kind of crazy that Cincinnati made it. So wanted to briefly say that. Also, going back to NFL real quick, Zach Cunningham is a healthy and active for disciplinary reasons. So anybody with Jonathan Taylor in their lineup today is winning. Just so you guys know, because Cunningham is like their best defensive player by far. So Chase, you're probably a little excited over there. That's a dub for you today. But yeah, going back to some of these catchers and stuff, I did see a few people talking. Where was it? Castellanos to Padres is going to happen for sure, I guess. I don't know. I think it's really hard to tell now with the lockout. And then I see a lot of comments here talking about whenever like the Padres get put in a good spot, the lockout happens, the COVID happens, and like all this stuff is happening. Where do you guys expect this season to go? Because like for me, I still think that they're gonna play. I just think that it's likely that there's a reduced season. That's what I'm thinking right now.
It really depends on when the lockout starts, because I don't think they're going to do like a spring training this year, because usually spring training starts in mid to the end of February. We just started the lockout. They're not talking. And even last year, they were at it for months. So let's say it takes them 3 months to come to an agreement. And that's kind of being on the short end of everything. That's in the middle of March. You will have to push some sort of spring training or like team get together so teams can get together, work out their teams, figure out what leaguers are going to make the roster and everything. So that would push the season to either start in June or the end of May. You cut out 30 to 40 games. So maybe 100 to 120 games. And then if the Padres have a DH, I think that helps them majorly and they can get into playoffs. Without it, I still think they can. They got the rotation. They got the bullpen. Guess it relies on Eric Hosmer being a decent first baseman if he's still there. But yeah, realistically, this may not start until end of May and June. Oh, because then you also have to deal with the free agency period. If they don't get finished talks until February or March, they need to have some sort of period for free agencies and winter meetings that never happened. It's not looking good.
Yeah, I expect us to lose around 40 to 60 games, like Chase said. I think that's going to be, I think that's the most likely scenario. These two, the players and the union don't exactly get along very well. For anyone who's seen the Castellanos video, apparently somebody shouted out like, hey, pretend that ball's Manfred's face or something, and he ended up hitting like a 600-foot shot. So, I mean, obviously it wasn't on purpose, but I just found that funny. But yeah, they've never really got along. I don't think Manfred's a very, very good guy to try and negotiate with. It seems like he's stuck on his way, and I think that's the main issue, is that he is stuck in his way. He doesn't want to adapt to what the players want when the players are the product. I think like 130 max. I think we still got that free agency period, like Chase said. There still needs to be trades. I feel like they're still gonna have some sort of spring training if they can do it. But I don't know when I expect the season to start. I really don't. I see it a question about trading Cronenworth. On my dead body, will we trade Jake Cronenworth? Never. We'll never trade Jake Cronenworth. You see, I see a lot of people saying like he has a lot of value right now. He, he's a 5 WAR, whatever you guys on Twitter say, a 5 WAR player who can, who's on a cheap contract and you can get a lot out of him. You just said why we shouldn't trade him. That is the exact reason we shouldn't trade him, because those don't really exist.
Yeah, and also I want to get into that real quick, but I have one thing I want to share with you guys, because this was on our video when we were talking about the lockout, and you guys were talking about the reduced season. So Jordan Roberts commented, my suggested regular season for your consideration: 100 games. So let's say like 60 games get taken out. What if they tried this? And I want everyone that's listening to, I want to see what you guys think, because I think this is super fascinating. 25 weekends, 4-game series every weekend. And I'm not going to read you the whole comment, but basically Jordan's idea is that if you have these 100 games and they're consistently 4-game series every weekend, you would have that like appeal that the NFL does, where it's like, oh, Sunday's the NFL day, where it's like summer baseball is weekend series for the MLB. Next year could potentially be a year where they would try something like that. I don't expect this to legitimately happen, but I think it would be super cool from just a viewership standpoint if baseball didn't happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you had those 4 days. You'd have a starting rotation would be 4 guys, and you would consistently have those 4 games. So it would be really cool if we got to see that kind of like unveiled this year. But I don't know. I think that one's really cool. Like I said, I don't think it's going to happen, but what if they tried something like that, where it's like they changed the way of like, because the problem with from a viewership standpoint of baseball is like you go through and by August, people don't really watch. Like if your team's out of it, like I really want to know how many people are really tuning into Pittsburgh Pirates games in August. Like 4 people? Like what who's watching that? Like, you know what I mean? Like I feel bad for all the Pirates fans, because like, dude, you guys know what August baseball is for the Pirates. But I think if you added that like exciting appeal of like, weekend series, I think it'd be really cool. So I don't know. Do you think that they could try something like that this year? Because they kind of did a little bit with the 60-game season, where it was like everything meant a lot more. But I don't know. Like, what about like having that like kind of like highlight baseball on the weekends in the summer? I think it'd be cool.
I saw that and I was thinking it was a pretty cool idea. I don't know how they can do it because baseball has really adopted, the 5-man rotation, because then you're cutting out a player, you're cutting out a starter. I don't know how players feel about it because, it's like, okay, wow, there's no need for a 5th starter anymore. So why am I here? You kind of lose out on some position or pitchers kind of just being able to pitch because normally when they're fighting for a 5th spot, now they're not there. Maybe they go into a bullpen role, but then you're kicking someone out of the pen. It's kind of an iffy one. I like the idea. I think it's great because, more people would then attend baseball games. Stadiums would sell out more. It would benefit owners. It would benefit the players. They would get more rest time. Probably wouldn't be as much injuries. We wouldn't have to worry about Tatis's shoulder as much. I like it overall. It's just that one thing. How are the players going to react to that? Because you're cutting out the 5th starter basically, and I don't know how starting pitchers are going to feel about that.
I mean, you said highlighting baseball over the summer on the weekends?
So basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be baseball games every single week.
Huh. I mean, it's kind of
4-game series.
4-game series. I mean, I think that's a good idea. I think it's pretty cool. Pitchers get their rest. I mean, they do already have a 5-man rotation. They probably already made the schedule for this year, so that's pretty set in stone. As far as other years go, I mean, it's a great idea. I think it's cool to have you get to look forward. It's just like an anticipation kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm excited to watch this 4-game series this weekend. But I mean, I don't think it'll make much of a difference in terms of viewership or anything. Like, just because the Pirates are you anticipating a Pirates game doesn't mean it's going to be any less agonizing to watch.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's go back to this one question up here, and I see people talking about Cronenworth a lot, but okay, I gotta find it now. Okay, do you think they're gonna trade away trade away Cronenworth, while have Abrams brought up because like the Padres minor leaguers, like they're kind of like moving Abrams to be the second baseman. Chase also liked you put your head up because it was blocking you. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this? And then there was a comment right underneath it. We only have 2 outfielders signed, and Profar's not going to start in the outfield. I 100% agree with that. I would really like to see you keep Cronenworth at second base. I don't think he's going to be traded. I think you keep him at second base because he has proven that he is a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, and he's an all-star second baseman. Move Abrams to the outfield. That is where he can flourish. If he cannot pick it up, then you go and you see, okay, like what are we going to do with the infield? We're going to move Cronenworth to first, and we're going to put Abrams second. What are we doing? But I fully would expect CJ Abrams to be able to transition to be a right fielder. Isaac, we've all talked about that a lot. Like right field is where his skill set would make the most sense. Or you move into left field, you keep Myers in right, even though we've talked about it in the past. Myers is a better left fielder than he is a right fielder. You put Myers in left, you put Abrams in right, you have Grisham in center. You have one of the fastest outfields in the league. Your outfield absolutely flies. You're going to be able to cover a lot of ground. You keep Cronenworth at second, and then boom, you go and you have a first baseman that can absolutely slug. Like that's what you want. That's what I think that we all want to see. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think there's any chance that Abrams or Cronenworth could get moved because they're only like looking to play them at second base? Or do you think the Padres are open to the idea of moving one of those guys into right field or into left field or wherever it is?
They should really consider moving Abrams into the outfield. And if Abrams can't do that right now, then bye-bye Hosmer. It's Cronenworth the first, Abrams the second. And if we have to keep Hosmer, and I mean like by any means, like if it is no longer possible to trade him without giving up like Hassel or Gore. Maybe Campusano. I might give up Campusano. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. Then, you know what? Hosmer's sitting at DH. I mean, he shouldn't even carry a bat, but it's kind of how it has to be. But Hosmer can't play first. If Abrams can't play in the outfield, Cronenworth moves to first, Abrams moves to second, and guess what? You have probably a gold glove defense all around the infield, and now all you have to worry about is really signing a decent bat with good defense in outfield. That's all you need at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying I talked about it with Chase last night. I think, and this isn't really off topic. I'm gonna come back around to Cronenworth. I saw that someone said that in order to get Olsen, the rumors are that you need to give up a 50 FV. I don't know what that stands for. 50 FV player, a close to 50 FV player, and a mid-tier guy. Now, if you ask me, that's not a lot. I think Ha-Seong Kim was a 50 FV player. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to get rid of Ha-Seong Kim, but if Ha-Seong Kim is a 50 FV player and you have the choice of him, Hassel, Gore, Abrams, Campusano, and I forgot who else, I am 100% getting rid of Kim over those guys. I think I wouldn't say he's necessarily blocked, but even if you get rid of Ha-Seong Kim, then you have CJ Abrams, who can play second. If Tatis needs a break, Abrams can play short. The only position he can't play that Ha-Seong Kim does play is third base. Now, CJ Abrams can also play the outfield. I know that, there's not really any signs of them wanting CJ Abrams to play the outfield, but it was because of his injury, but they moved Tatis to the outfield on the fly. So it's not like they can't groom CJ Abrams on the fly to be an outfielder. So with that being said, I don't think you trade Cronenworth for anything, unless it's like Cronenworth for Shohei straight up, which we know that will never happen. So, no, man, Cronenworth he's been too good for this team to trade. He's become one of the fan favorites. If you go to Petco Park and you ask fans who their favorite player is, 99.9% of the time it'll be Cronenworth, Tatis, and either Machado or Musgrove. That's just the Cron Zone, everything. It's just so cool, man. He's one of my favorites for sure, and he really plugged in nicely in that 3 spot last year. When I think coming into the season we didn't expect him to be more than a 6th or 7th hitter in the lineup, and he ended up as a 3 slot, as an all-star second baseman, one of the most valuable players in the league. So, you can't trade him.
That's like trading your heart and soul of your team.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that. And also, look at some of the
don't deny the Padres. They did that before. We traded Franmil Reyes.
Okay,
I'm
that's
still
true.
Very salty about that. We traded Franmil Reyes away for a bag of chips, and we know it.
And PV. And PV, when PV's like, I don't want to leave San Diego. Don't trade me. And then they trade him. It's like, oh, no, great going, guys. Let's just trade Jake PV away. So there's a lot of discussions here if Myers is going to get traded. Also, the people are talking about Hosmer getting traded. I think that if Hosmer is not moved, I think Hosmer will be DFA'd. I think that is where the organization is at with him. I think he is completely gone. I think if Hosmer, and if I'm right on that, if Hosmer's gone, and since we've already seen them trade Frazier, I would be very shocked if Will Myers is moved, if those two guys are already moved. Because if you're moving Will Myers, first off, you're going to have to replace Will Myers in the lineup. If you go and replace him, you're going to have to move his contract. You're going to have to eat some of his deal. I think it's really hard to move him. He is only on a 1-year contract. I think the Padres are completely fine with keeping Myers for this year. And honestly, I would not even be surprised if he could potentially be a guy that gets re-signed. Not going to be close to what he makes now. It will not even be remotely close to what he makes now. However, you could get him on a much cheaper deal, but you're looking at that one. If Will Myers is there, and we are going to talk about this, you can move Will Myers to first base, and you will have a much, much better first baseman, and you can easily find another another outfielder that can be a better defensive outfielder than Will Myers. and you will have a really good first baseman defensively. Will Myers can bulk up a little bit, be more of the power bat that he was when he was at first base. Like, let's remember, guys, he was an all-star when he played first. He was a much better player at first base. Chase, you're the big Will Myers fan out of us, but you've talked about it so many times. It made no sense to go get Hosmer when you had an all-star first baseman just to put him into a different spot that he was uncomfortable in. And that's why that never made any sense. But I don't think that Will Myers is going to be moved. You could sign Chris Bryant. I see Quan Pham says you can sign Bryant. He can play first. Bryant can play like every single position. That's why I actually really like the idea of bringing in Chris Bryant. So we'll have to make a video on him soon. But you go and say you go and you get Josh Bell. That's a guy that we've brought up a ton. You get Josh Bell. Okay, then Josh Bell plays first and then Myers stays in the outfield. Well, say you don't want to go trade for a first baseman. Then you move Myers to first and then you go and you get a Chris Bryant or you trade for a different outfielder. Apparently, Ketel Marte's on the market. I know that we'd be ecstatic if we added Ketel Marte. I think that's more. I think it's not likely because he's in the division, but there's a lot of guys that you can go and add, and I just don't think it makes a ton of sense to move Will Myers right now. But I don't know. I get that he could. I think that he could. Greg Gooch here says, I don't think Myers wants to play the outfield. I doubt he does. He knows that he's a better first baseman. He's went out there and he's proved that he's a great defensive first baseman. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Myers is going to get moved? And do you think I'm right about Hosmer? Do you think Hosmer's dead man walking right now?
Basically. Yeah, I never understood the Hosmer trade. Myers' best years came out of when he was at first base. He nearly had a 30-30 season when he was at first base. He has the speed. He has the power. He was basically like Goldschmidt's rival when he was at first base because there really wasn't another first baseman that could run and hit like Myers could at first, and they both played great defense. And we're like, you know what? We have this great guy. We have speed potential out of first base and a guy who can hit for power. You don't see many first basemen like that. Let's add this lefty hitting bat that had a career year and a track record that's kind of proven otherwise. And let's sign him and play first base and move Myers all around the outfield. And you know what? Possibly third base because fuck it. We need a third baseman too. No. Like, we can't keep moving Myers around just because he's the expendable piece. You got to keep a guy into one position. I mean, I don't know why we ever signed Hosmer in the first place, but Myers is a much better first baseman than Hosmer. Bat-wise, you get more power out of Myers. Speed, you get more speed out of Myers. And defense-wise, he's a better defensive first baseman. It makes sense to, get rid of Hosmer, put Myers there, and then sign two outfielders. But if we can't get rid of Eric Hosmer, you can't get rid of Myers because then you have to sign three outfielders because you guys need four outfielders in case it goes down. And Grish somewhat has an injury bug at this point, if you want to consider it. He missed a lot of time last year, and then I believe he missed some time in 2022.
Yeah, obviously, out of us three, I'm more in favor of them both hitting the high road, getting out of here. I saw Irie Fangeek. I know you think that Hosmer is more expendable than Will Myers. Unfortunately, I wouldn't really say that's the truth. In terms of expendable, I'm thinking of you saying that it's going to be either easier to trade Myers or I don't know what you're trying to say, but if you mean like easier to trade, no. Myers is by far going to be a lot easier to trade just because there's only 1 year left on his deal, whereas Eric Hosmer's got 3 or 4. So everyone's going to want, not only that, but also Will Myers is worth, is also more so worth the money than Eric Hosmer is. So it's going to be easier to trade Will Myers, and you won't get a lot out of it, but I feel like you might get more out of trading Will Myers than you will out of trading Eric Hosmer. Because I think with Will, I don't think you'll have to give up like a Campusano or something like that. You might, but I think it's less likely than having to give up like, Eric Hosmer and Luis Campusano or something crazy like that. So, it would be easier to trade Myers. But obviously, and I speak for the whole fan base, I think we want Eric Hosmer gone more than anyone on this team. So if Will Myers does stick around and we don't have a first baseman, I think, that's very, very much on the table. just because of his experience there. And I do remember he did look pretty good as a first baseman. And anyone's better at first base than Eric Hosmer.
Myers had one error the entire 2016 season.
Yeah, he looked really good there. So I don't really know what to think of. If there's a salary floor, I do think they're both gone. If not, I don't know. I think it's a point of who might be gone. I think Hosmer's probably gone for sure, but we don't know what AJ's gonna do because Will very well may be gone also.
Yeah, I don't think it's like impossible that I honestly don't think it's impossible that anyone outside of like Manny and Tatis get moves. Like I do think there is a world where Cronenworth gets moved. Do I want to see that? Absolutely not. Not even close. Of course not. I think it's more likely that Hosmer's gone than Myers. Is it impossible that both of them aren't gone? No, that could happen. And then I also see after next year, Hosmer's contract, yeah, it will be $13 million a year. So that helps a lot too. But Myers is only on a 1-year deal. That's why I think it's just less likely that they move him. Also, Michael wrote right here, Cattell has 3 more years of cheap control and is in the vision that isn't happening. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying like there are guys out there on the market. Cattell Marte, I have no idea. There's no way the Padres could go and swing that deal. That would be incredible. Yeah, I think Haas is gone. I do think that. So maybe what if the Padres did this? What if they did move? If they were to move Haas and Myers, what would it take? They would have to trade for a first baseman and probably sign another outfielder and probably trade for another outfielder. I'm not really sure. Or maybe you just trade for 2 outfielders and then you would move Kim to second and you'd have Cronenworth at first. I think that's kind of like the recipe there if you were to move both those guys. I don't know. Dude, Eric Hosmer is the cancer. What is this moving an all-star first baseman to the outfield thing? Well, I think we're saying like you shouldn't have done that. Not moving Hosmer to the outfield. I don't know if that's what he's saying. Because if we don't want to move Hosmer to the outfield. Absolutely not. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's unlikely that they're both moved. But I'd rather see Hosmer moved. It's so hard to tell right now because it's like there's nothing really like going on. I don't know. What else you guys got? I know football's starting in a few minutes here. Any other questions we have, though? I'm worried about the Chargers today. Looks like it's going to be a close game. From a non-Chargers fan, I'm rocking with the Chargers today. Think the Dodgers are tired of Bellinger? I think the Dodgers have a lot of faith in Bellinger. I wish they didn't. We've talked about in the past.
I do too, yeah.
The postseason kind of looked really good. Like, if he can build off of that, he might be back.
That's just what he does. I think, like, dude.
No, but he changed his swing a little bit in the postseason.
He's like,
and it started to work.
Yeah, that talent doesn't go away, man. He was way too good. Like, I think it was kind of a fluky year this year, coming off a bunch of injuries. Now he's got a full off. I mean, he's about to have a full off season to, really, really change his swing back to what it was. His swing was beautiful. I thought his swing was really nice when he was winning the MVP. Everything looked good for him, and he was a star. I mean, he's still a great defensive outfielder, a super good defensive outfielder. You can plug him in anywhere, and he'll get the job done. I think he's an amazing center fielder. So, the fielding aspect, it's not going to go away. He's just got to get right at the plate, and if he gets right at the plate, he's going to finish as a top 5 MVP candidate, like I would expect him to. Even like I brought it up numerous times, Fernando still thinks he's a top 5, top 10 MLB baseball player. So, I mean, he's just that good.
I got a couple other questions. Are there rumors to the Matt Olson to the Padres? Yeah, there's been a lot of rumors on that. We'll see kind of what happens with that. Hopefully in January. Hopefully that's when the lockout ends. Sooner than later. That's what I want to see. And then also Super Bowl predictions right now. Let's wrap it up with a couple football things here because we haven't talked a ton about football. But unless you guys have other Padres questions, feel free to ask. But what do you guys think about the Super Bowl predictions? I'm gonna go Bucks in the NFC, and the AFC is so hard. The AFC is so much tougher, I think. I don't know. Isaac, what do you think? Who do you like in the AFC?
The Chargers. I don't know. I really don't like the Chargers as a Super Bowl I really don't like the Chargers as a Super Bowl candidate. I think their defense is too soft to get them there. We talk about December, January football. If you want to win in December or January, you need to have a really good run defense. They don't have a really good run defense. So out of the AFC, I think I'll probably still roll with the Chiefs or the Ravens.
Titans? Not Titans. I meant Colts.
I kind of like the
I think
Colts. I was thinking that too.
I kind of like the Colts.
The Colts were bad to start the year, but it wasn't like it's because they didn't have their guys. They were super banged up, and for as much like I'll admit I give Wentz a lot of crap too, but for as much crap as Wentz gets, he's been really good this year.
No, he has, and I think they're set up nicely for December and January football. I just think there are teams that are better than them that can light up the scoreboard more than they can. They're also still kind of on the outside looking in. They're 6-6 right now, but they're like on a 4-game win streak, 3-game win streak.
I don't know. Ask Jonathan Taylor. He is the team.
He is very much the team. Bucks versus Patriots. That'd be pretty crazy. That would be pretty crazy. The Bucks would win.
I think so. I don't think. Okay, one thing I've kind of wanted to put out there NFL wise, dude, the Patriots could still miss the playoffs. Like they've been hot. Their schedule is hard. They play the Colts and they play the Bills twice, and then they play the game that they lose every single year is the Dolphins in the final week of the year. They always lose that game.
In Miami?
Yes.
That's an L. They lost.
So that'd be 4 additional losses potentially. I think this Monday Night Football game, wow, like this is going to be a really good one. Colts lost last week against the Bucks. I don't think the Colts are like going to run away with it or anything, but I think that the AFC is really open. For the Chiefs, it's tough because the Chiefs defense was horrible early on in the year when they didn't have Chris Jones. But you literally you just have Chris Jones like, oh yeah, your defense is going to make a few plays, like just him alone. The Chiefs could definitely make a run. I don't have a lot of faith in the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens are a very good football team. And I'll tell you this, I absolutely love Lamar Jackson. Lamar is probably one of my favorite players in the entire NFL. He probably is my favorite player, non-49er in the NFL. Like, dude's awesome. But he has to play hero ball almost every single game for them to win.
Yes.
It's just, and you're just going to run into a problem, you know? Like, you're just going to run into a game where it's like, they bottled up Lamar a little bit. And I think that's just the thing that scares me. Also, I see Quan Pham said that the Colts can't hold the lead. That makes it tough. The good thing is if your defense can't hold a league, at least you have Jonathan Taylor. Like that kind of negates it a little bit, but that is definitely something that I'm scared about. And that's also something for the 49ers that I'm scared about is because their secondary is terrible. And I'm afraid like you get into a game where you're playing against Brady and the Bucks in the playoffs. And like, yeah, you can run the ball a lot, but I'm going to trust Brady to carve up that secondary. So I think there's a lot of teams where it's like that. Like almost every team in the NFL has like one pretty clear weakness. And it's just tough. So I think this is a hard one to predict. I think everyone's saying Bucks in the NFC. I do wonder, do you guys think the Packers can make a run this year? I know that's always a question, but I don't know. Like they're better, I think, than years past. Their defense is way better than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And they're super banged up right now too.
Yeah.
I like how none of us mentioned the Cardinals.
Dude, I don't
buy it.
You lose JJ Watt. I don't think people realize how big of an impact that is. JJ Watt was going nuts. And I don't think he had the sack numbers, but he was taking over games and pressures and hurries and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I think the Bucks and the Packers are better than the Cardinals.
Yeah. I think I would trust the Niners more than I would the Cardinals. Honestly. The only problem is that you can just have a bad Jimmy game. It's like, all right, well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe this is the year where we see like a 6th and a 7th seed in the Super Bowl.
That'd be so cool, dude. That's
what can we see? Vikings, Colts.
Yeah, imagine that.
Vikings, Bengals. There we go. Oh, I like Cardinals maybe next season. Yeah, I think the Cardinals are a team that's going to be good for a long time. But I don't know if this is like their year. 2011 Giants vibe. To which team? The
Chargers.
The Chargers?
I don't know.
Chargers? Oh, I think they should make the playoffs.
No, I think so too.
You know, one team I said that might be kind of underrated that could sneak in and make some noise. And the problem is they have Teddy, but the Broncos defense is so nasty. Man. If they okay, they're like, to me, they're like a prime candidate to be the 2023 Super Bowl favorites, because like if they go and they get Rodgers, it's like, okay, they are the heavy favorites because their offense is really good, and Teddy's not bad, but it's just like I don't trust him in January. I really don't. But if you had Rodgers there, wow, like that would be nasty. Time to wear my Luis Castillo number 93 jersey.
Oh,
like that.
He's gone.
All right. So, what are you guys' final predictions? I'm gonna say Bucks. Colts. I don't know if I'm comfortable with saying the Colts, man.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll go
Bucks Bills. That was my preseason one. Bucks Bills. I think they're gonna get hot.
I'm gonna stick with the Bucks. I'm gonna go Bucks. I'm gonna go with the rematch of last year, Bucks Chiefs.
I think I'm gonna go with Matt, Bucks Bills.
Bucks Bills.
That was one I picked in preseason, so hopefully it works out. That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and that's gonna do it. Hopefully, Chargers make some noise today. I really think that they're gonna win. I do. I think those injuries are so significant. But the problem is that you got Mixon. Dolphins to win it all. Hey, the Dolphins have been red hot. You never know. I don't trust Tua at all, but you never know. Like they've looked a lot better. That's the thing. That's what's great about this year's NFL, though. Like anyone could run away with it. But yeah, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Hopefully, you guys have a good NFL Sunday. Hopefully, the Niners and the Chargers win today. I know that's primarily who's listening here. So we'll talk to you guys very soon. Probably have a video out on Tuesday. So talk to you guys then.